Coming up on Network Africa. Ugandan court orders government to pay 10 million Ugandan shillings to each victim of the Lord's Resistance Army. Nigerian government announces plans to increase kinetic and non-kinetic tactics to counter-insurgency in the country. Plus, rescue dogs, planes and aid leave France's reunion to help the rescue efforts at Mayotte. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers. The United Nations is keeping a wary eye on Libya, which seems to be at peace at the moment. UN Deputy Special Representative for Libya, Stephanie Corey, is convinced that if care is not taken, this may just be the calm before the storm. It's been 3 years since the country postponed elections for an indefinite length of time, and she fears that lingering differences continue to undermine Libya's national unity and territorial integrity.
In a little over a week, Libya will mark 3 years since the indefinite postponement of national elections in 2021. As unresolved issues continue to stall political progress, Libya's national unity and territorial integrity are under threat. Libyans are anxious about their country's future. The status quo is unsustainable and has persisted for too long. Unilateral actions pursued by political elites have deeply eroded Libya's institutions into parallel and competing structures. Regional instability also has a grave impact on Libya. Since the start of the Sudanese conflict in 2023, an exponentially growing number of Sudanese refugees have crossed into Libya, with 500 on average arriving daily. The human rights and protection conditions faced by migrants and refugees remains a UN top priority. I urge all stakeholders to ensure that migration management comports with international human rights law. Libya's guns largely remain silent, but it is neither stable nor at peace. Against the backdrop of persistent foreign involvement, regional changes, and growing economic headwinds, we must collectively seize the opportunity to achieve a lasting political settlement. Libya has the potential to become a beacon of stability and prosperity for the Mediterranean region and beyond, and one that serves its people. The success of the UN-facilitated political process, first and foremost, requires political will and Libyan actors to refrain from unilateral actions that continue to entrench institutional divisions and polarization. Unity of purpose and coordinated support from Libya's regional and international partners is equally critical.
A Ugandan court has ordered the government to pay up to 10 million Ugandan shillings, about $2,740 to each victim of the Lord's Resistance Army commander Thomas Koyelo, the first senior member of the rebel group to be convicted by Uganda's judiciary. In October, Koyelo, a mid-level commander in the LRA, was sentenced up to 40 years in prison for war crimes, including murder, rape, enslavement, torture, and kidnapping. According to the court ruling on Monday, Mr. Koyelo was found unable to pay any compensation to the victims due to his indigent status, leading the court to order the government to bear the cost. Founded in the late 1980s with the aim of overthrowing the government, the LRA brutalized Ugandans under the leadership of Joseph Kony for nearly 20 years as it battled the military from bases in northern Uganda. The Ugandan military captured Mr. Koyelo in 2009 in northeastern Congo, and his case has been inching through the Ugandan court system until his conviction in August. Now we're bringing Ugandan journalist Canary Mugume to shed more light on this story. He joins us from Kampala in Uganda. Hello, Canary. Great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Can you give us an idea of how pervasive these war crimes were and how many people fell victim to the LRA?
Well, the LRA, led by Joseph Kony, waged a very, very brutal insurgency in Uganda and neighboring countries to nearly about, 2 decades as we talk. And the group was notorious for committing widespread atrocities, including murder, rape, abduction, mutilations, and thousands of civilians were killed, to an estimate of thousands that many people even still claim that they're up to about 1 million.
Mr. Koyelo was only mid-level status in the army. What happened to the higher-ups, and were they not on trial as well?
Well, Thomas Koyelo, a mid-level commander in the LRA, is known as the first senior member to be tried and convicted by the trial that has been going on. The LRA's leader, Joseph Kony, remains at large despite an arrest warrant, I think, that was issued about 2005 by the International Criminal Court. Efforts up to now, to date as we speak, to apprehend Kony and other top commanders have been ongoing, but have faced challenges due to the group's military organization, but also mobility, and also the remote areas that they do operate in. Then there's also, of course, another senior commander, Dominique Ongwen, who was tried and sentenced to 25 years by the ICC in 2021. The complexities of the international law, the difficulties in the high-ranking members and being able to capture them still remain challenges.
And looking at the dollar equivalent, 10 million Ugandan shillings does not seem to amount to very much. Are people talking about this, and does it seem a fair compensation?
Well, to be honest, it doesn't, because to each victim, $2,740 doesn't seem very fair. This amount has also sparked discussions and conversations in the public, but also, most importantly, in the groups of the victims, with many feeling that the compensation is insufficient, given the severity of the atrocities committed. Actually, one of the things that I don't know whether people will be able to understand, especially the victims, is that is Koyelo having the ability to even pay the compensation because of his particular status, and also is he able? Does he have the finances? Does he have the money? Does he have the ability to be able to pay each and every victim? I think that's one of the reasons on how that conclusion came about, which many people feel it's not sufficient.
Right. Even though these crimes went on for an extended period of time, it began as far back as the 1980s. How significant is this judgment for Ugandans?
The conviction and the sentencing of Thomas Koyelo is very significant, actually, for this country, because as the first LRA commander to be tried and convicted, this case marks a sort of a watershed in so many cases that have been tried in their particular manner. But it also shows commitment, even though it has taken years and years. It shows at least a lot of commitment for the justice of the victims. But most importantly, the judgment offers a sense of justice to the victims, because it's better than nothing. I know there's going to be a lot of future prosecutions of similar crimes, but at least this one in particular sets precedent.
And has the government responded at all to the court order by way of statement or speech?
Well, for now, there's been no official statement or speech from the Ugandan government. It's one of actually the stories that we're following up back in Uganda for the news stories. But also the court's ruling places the responsibility on the state to pay reparations due to Koyelo's inability to do so. So we're waiting to see how is the Ugandan state going to respond to this, but most importantly, how are they going to find the victims? Some of the victims died, some of the victims' children, we know, have no idea of this information because they reside in the northern parts of the country. And therefore, we're waiting to see how that actually turns out. But also, we've seen human rights organizations coming to say maybe they could be of help. Is the Ugandan government that for long has not been working with human rights organizations in, let's say, good relations, going to be able to work with them in this particular case to secure justice for all the victims? Let's see how that turns out. I think it's one of those stories that we're looking out for on how that turns out as 2025 opens.
Right, Canary, thank you so much for your thoughts on that.
Thanks for having me.
Here in Nigeria, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has announced plans by the Army to upscale kinetic and non-kinetic approach in addressing the challenges of insurgency. He stated this during the annual Chief of Army conference in Abuja. General Oluyede says the Army, in conjunction with other security agencies, remain committed to protecting lives and properties of all citizens and residents. The Army Chief adds that the Nigerian Army remains steadfast and unwavering in addressing security challenges in the country.
It's the first annual Chief of Army Staff Conference under the leadership of Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede as the Chief of Army Staff.
Command Nigerian Army.
The conference presents a veritable platform for the assessment of the Nigerian Army's kinetic and non-kinetic operations, with special focus on evaluating the commitment of the Army to maintaining operational effectiveness.
The recent development in these theaters underscore the need for a meeting of this nature to enable us critically assess our operations and other activities with a view to bolstering our overall performance.
The Chief of Army Staff reiterates his commitment to protect Nigeria's sovereignty.
So far, we have had a large-scale surrender of terrorists and the submission of a substantial catch of arms and ammunition, which ordinarily might not have been possible through our kinetic efforts. To this end, the Nigerian Army will upscale both kinetic and non-kinetic efforts across all theaters in the coming year.
At a separate event, the Strategic Communications Interagency Policy Committee reeled out their achievements for the year.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria have conducted successful operations across key regions in Nigeria. And we have seen notable results under this period.
As expected, issues of security dominate the conference.
Just last week, we deployed a special operations brigade in the northwest of Nigeria, particularly because of the Lakurawa issue.
We have done strategic deployment, and our deployment across the country is not to intimidate anybody. It's for us to make sure all our routes, major highways, and communities are safe.
As the year 2024 winds down, spokespersons of the various security agencies appear united in their efforts to contain insurgency and all forms of security challenges confronting the nation.
Still in Nigeria, the Katsina state government in the northwest has pledged to intensify the fight against gender-based violence aimed at protecting the rights of and well-being of women and girls across the state. The State Commissioner for Women Affairs, Hadiza Yaradua, stated this in a town hall meeting with stakeholders to commemorate the 2024 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence held at the banquet hall of the Katsina Government House. Fight against gender-based violence, according to the Commissioner, is far from over, hence the need for collective action to ensure perpetrators are brought to justice.
Over the past couple of months, our ministry has worked tirelessly to establish survivor support systems, provide vocational trainings for women and girls and boys, and partner with community leaders to combat GBV. These efforts are steps in the right direction, but they must be sustained and scaled up. Gender-based violence is not only a violation of human rights, it is an impediment to our state's progress. No society can thrive when half of its population is held back by fear, abuse, or inequality. This is why today's event is so important. It serves as an opportunity for us to listen, to learn, to collaborate, and develop actionable solutions that make a tangible difference in the lives of our women, girls, and boys.
Welcome back to the program. We're still in Nigeria. This time we're in the southeast, where Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State has launched the state's geographic information system to tackle incessant land dispute, land grabbing, and diversion of state revenue. Governor Mbah, who was speaking at the official launch of the initiative, says the new system will promote ease of doing business and attract investors to the state. The system is expected to ease land search and title documentation procurement within 48 hours.
Today marks the end of the era of land grabbing in Enugu, unauthorized constructions. It also marks the end of double allocation and, of course, revenue diversion. It's going to end with the launch of the Enugu Geographic Information System.
Namibia state-owned telecoms company has fallen victim to a ransomware attack, resulting in the leak of sensitive customer data, including information about top officials, government officials, that is. According to local media, the hackers stole nearly 500,000 pieces of information, including personal and financial data belonging to ministries, senior government officials, and other company clients. Telecom Namibia reveals the data had been released after it refused to engage with a group of hackers known as Hunters International. The company said it is now investigating how such a massive breach of its system occurred. Condemning the attack, outgoing President Nangolo Mbumba called for urgent action, saying cybersecurity is a matter of national security. Telecom Namibia is working with security officials to minimize further exposure and bring the criminals to justice. The company has, in the meantime, warned the people should change their passwords and avoid sharing any of the leaked information. Ransomware is malicious, a computer software that locks up data and devices until a ransom is paid. Elsewhere, South Africa's Transport Minister Barbara Creecy has called on road users to prioritize safety in the wake of a tragic accident near Graf Weynet that claimed 15 lives. Department spokesperson Colin Nsibi highlighted the alarming rise in fatalities on South Africa's roads, citing a recent crash on the N2 in the Free State that left 10 people dead. In response, Mr. Nsibi announced that the department has intensified law enforcement efforts in 20 identified traffic hotspots nationwide, including key routes in the Eastern Cape province, to curb the growing death toll.
So they have called upon the road users to heed the message of road safety. They must also ensure that they rest hours or after every 200 kilometers, because it has been proven that fatigue is a silent killer. But they've also expressed the fact that road users must take their safety seriously, as well as those who are sharing the road with them.
The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has just concluded a visit to Lesotho, where he toured a dam site in the northeast of the country. The dam is central to the Highlands water projects constructed to benefit both South Africa and Lesotho. The Secretary General has been speaking about Africa's potential and how Lesotho is setting a remarkable example to the world. Lesotho is investing in renewable energy and new dams and areas that are setting it at the forefront of countries towing the path of green energy and development. Michael Gar, a contemporary artist based in Accra, Ghana, uses recycled fabrics as raw materials for his creations to raise environmental awareness and utilize unused scraps. It's his way of using his talent with fabrics to encourage eco-friendly behavior.
I select this fabrics.
This is Michael Ga, searching and examining the fabric on display in local markets.
They are the ones that cause waste.
He purchases several pieces from the stacks of waste fabric scattered across the floor. Later, he carefully organizes the material before cutting it into pieces as he works on a new painting.
Growing up, I would say I saw my mom, my auntie, and my grandmom sewing. So I fell in love with these textile pieces. Anytime I wake up, I see them around me, and then I was a kid that was cutting stuff. So I intend to pick some of the design in it, and then I cut. So growing up, I said, why don't I use this fabric to create some of my pieces.
These are the pieces, according to him, which end up as waste, polluting the environment. Reflecting on his artistic journey, Michael recalls a pivotal conference he attended in Italy, where discussions around fashion waste and its detrimental impact on the ecosystem resonated deeply with him.
I had the opportunity to visit a conference in Italy where they highlighted this some point where textile waste is destroying our ecosystem. I work on multiple pieces at the same time, like 4 works or 5 works at the same time, because I love to channel energy to all of them. So it may take 2 to 3 weeks to finish these pieces.
With fashion offcuts from tailoring shops or second-hand markets, Michael's artworks are inspired by his environment in West Africa. His iconic portraits featuring faces without distinct features have drawn the attention of the art community, with participation in galleries organized in France, South Africa, and New York.
And finally, Nigeria's Ademola Lookman has been crowned the Confederation of African Football's Player of the Year for 2024 at a glittering ceremony in the Moroccan city of Marrakesh. The Atalanta forward saw off competition from top players from Morocco, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, and South Africa to claim the prestigious title. The 27-year-old joins an illustrious list of Nigerian footballers who have won the award, including last year's winner, Victor Osimhen. Lookman had a phenomenal season, both with his club and for his country, making him a hot favorite for the award. He delivered a stunning hat-trick for the Italian club in the Europa League final, a performance that cemented his reputation as one of Europe's elite forwards. He also played a crucial role in the Super Eagles' second-place finish in the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations, scoring 3 goals in the tournament. The former Everton, Fulham and Leicester City player was also the only African on this year's men's Ballon d'Or shortlist, finishing 14th. Meanwhile, Zambia's Barbara Banda picked up the women's award, becoming the first woman from her country to win the prize. She scored 4 goals for Zambia at the 2024 Paris Olympics, including a hat-trick in a group stage loss to Australia. The striker scored 13 regular season goals and 4 in playoffs for American team Orlando Pride, helping it win the U.S. National Women's Soccer League for the first time. And beaming with smiles, congratulations to all. That's our program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.